Hello, good afternoon to viewers and ladies and gentlemen watching me and listening to me live from their on their tablets, in their cars, in their homes all over the world, in Africa, Ghana, especially. I just want to say good evening to you all. It's almost 3 p.m. here in Pennsylvania, and today's program is called Political Affairs. We are blessed to have one distinguished personality who is going to be with us this very afternoon to help us to explain certain things that is going on in the country. This personality is no one but special gentleman called Dr. Rasheed Dramani. Doctor, good afternoon to you. Some of us in the US will say good afternoon, but I know in Ghana it's good evening.
Yes, good afternoon. It's evening here. It's 7 p.m. here in Ghana.
Right.
So thanks
And
for
then
having me on your show.
thank you so much. We just about some few days ago, we've been hearing so many things, and I would like to give an intro at the business line. Then we can all take up with the questions. Earlier this week, the Supreme Court of Ghana delivered what many people called a landmark ruling, stating that the presiding deputy speaker of parliament can vote and be counted to form a quorum. This ruling has indeed generated a lot of heated argument across the political device in Ghana, with the minority calling it travesty of justice. But did the Supreme Court err in the ruling, or the minority rather got it wrong? Doctor, that is our intro. To help us with this discussion tonight is Dr. Rasheed Dramani. He is the Executive Director of African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, ACEPA. Question number one. What necessitated this ruling by the Supreme Court? What necessitated this ruling by the Supreme Court?
Thank you very much for having me. I think what necessitated this ruling, maybe for those who have not followed our politics in the last year or so, um, this we can trace back to the 2020 elections, an election that produced a parliament that is split right in the middle. Unlike all the seven parliaments that we've had since our fourth Republican constitution was promulgated. So, um, in the seventh parliament, for instance, the parliament before this one, the ruling party, the National Patriotic Party, had an advantage of almost 69 members over the opposition, the National Democratic Congress, which had about 106.
Mm,
So that was, quite a very clear majority. And then the Speaker of Parliament also was someone from the ruling National Patriotic Party. So that was the seventh Parliament. Fast forward December 2020, we got a Parliament that was split. And in addition to that,
mm,
when Parliament went into its first meeting of the first session to elect, the first order of business is to elect a Speaker of Parliament.
okay,
Then the Speaker of Parliament was elected from the opposition party.
okay,
So now the Deputy Speaker um, is from the ruling party. And so if you count him together with all his other colleagues, they have 136. And then they have no 137 actually. And then they have an independent candidate, the only independent, who is also a deputy speaker. So he's the second
okay,
deputy speaker. So if you add him to the 137 on the majority side, that's what gave them the majority. So
okay,
now, whenever the right honorable speaker is not there, it means that the first deputy speaker has to sit in his chair. And if he sits in his chair, that reduces the number on their side by one. So they
okay,
have 136, that's the majority side, and then the minority side has 137.
okay.
So in voting for a critical bill that was before Parliament, that was the government's financial policy, the budget.
Mhm.
Uh, they had 136. That's the majority side against 137. No, 137 actually against 137
Okay.
because the first deputy speaker was sitting. The speaker was absent.
Yes.
So now they say the first deputy speaker said, even though he's sitting in the chair, he can also be counted so as to give them the number 138 in order
Okay.
for the bill to pass. Because if the bill becomes a tie, then the vote is lost.
Okay.
So that's what generated this. And then it led to all kinds of disagreements in the House to the extent that there were even fisticuffs at one point. I mean, blows were exchanged.
So sad.
And then a legal practitioner, a professor of law in Ghana said, well, let's go to the Supreme Court because your standing orders, if you take the standing orders of Parliament, I have a copy right here with me.
Okay.
Order 109 of the standing orders, 1093, says that a deputy speaker or any other member presiding
Mhm.
shall not retain his original vote while presiding. So that is the law that guides proceedings in Parliament.
Okay.
Then the Constitution in Article 104 says that 104 subsection 2 says that the speaker shall have neither an original nor casting vote. And they distinguish here, according to those who are sticking to the Constitution, they say that
Okay.
the Constitution was silent because of that. And the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So any other
Okay.
law that you have is
Mhm.
uh, is subject to being made sure that it respected the constitutional provisions. So
So it
that's
means
the
so
background. Yeah.
sorry about that. So it means the constitution spoke about the speaker, but not the deputy speaker.
Yes, the constitution is silent about the
Silent on
deputy
the
speaker.
deputy speaker.
Yes. So the
Okay.
constitution only says the speaker, and meanwhile the speaker is not a member of parliament. So the speaker, in any case, doesn't vote. Uh, but I mean, if you read this very carefully, maybe some would say this is actually actually intended for the deputy speakers because they are members of parliament and they
Yes.
vote.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if they are ordinary members of parliament sitting in their seat, they vote. Because normally our speaker in
Mhm.
Ghana is not a member of parliament, unlike what you have in the United States.
Right.
Speaker Pelosi is a member of the Congress. You go to Canada, the speaker is a member of the House. You go to England, the speaker is a member of the House,
Okay.
and so on and so forth. In Ghana, the speaker is not a member of parliament.
Yeah.
It's only his deputies who are members of parliament. So those who argue for the
Yeah.
deputy speakers to vote say
Yeah.
that they have to do so because they have a representational responsibility for the
Sure.
constituencies that they represent. So that is just the background about this whole issue that eventually ended up at the Supreme Court. And the
Mhm.
Supreme Court said, based on our reading of the Constitution, a deputy speaker who is presiding can vote.
Okay. All right. We've all had a ruling, and it's like the whole country is divided about the ruling.
Indeed, indeed.
As if Ghanaians are lawyers.
Everybody is a lawyer here. Everybody has an opinion.
All right. Let me just jump onto the next question. And in application, what is the difference between the standing orders of Parliament and the 1992 Constitution, based on the ruling that has come out now by the Supreme Court? Because
Well,
because
yeah.
okay, yeah,
Go ahead. No, go
yes,
ahead. No, no, go ahead. Finish your
because
question.
Parliament has their own standing order. They have their own
Yes,
rules to go about things.
yes.
Now, Supreme Court has also come out with an explanation. They've moved further. So what's going to happen now? Is Parliament going to listen to what Supreme Court is saying, or they'll still stick to their own parliamentary standing?
Well, I don't know what they are going to do now, but you see, if you take the standing orders, the difference between the standing orders and the constitution is that the standing orders really recognize the supremacy of the constitution.
Right.
So, if you take some of the critical aspects of the standing orders of parliament, like even this order 109, on the side it says voting in parliament, you say uh, confer article 104 of the constitution. So it means that, there are certain provisions in the standing orders that have to be read in tandem
Mm-hmm.
with the provisions of the constitution, because if the standing orders violate the constitution, then I think the Constitution stands, because the Constitution is the number one law of the land. It's just like the Constitution of the United States. There's no other law that is above that law. So that's perhaps I think the framers, because these
Yes.
standing orders date back
Yeah.
to the year 2000.
Yeah.
And the Constitution is the Constitution of Ghana, 1992. So I think one way or the other, in designing the standing orders,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a lot of things were taken for granted,
Yeah.
including maybe not making sure that, for instance, the sections in the standing orders that are supposed to mirror the Constitution
Mm-hmm.
are crafted in such a way that they actually are a mirror image of what is in the Constitution. Because if that was the case, then there wouldn't have been any necessity for this. But
Right.
because the standing orders talk about a deputy speaker, and the Constitution in that section 104 doesn't
Mm-hmm.
talk about a deputy speaker.
Yeah.
So I think that is where the judges of the Supreme Court said that, look, I mean, if you look at it in the spirit of the law,
Yeah.
in what is written in our Constitution, the deputy speaker has not done anything wrong.
It's so unfortunate that this is. We thank God that this has come out now, because these things has been a problem all these years, but because we have never had a tie in
Yes,
Parliament,
exactly,
so this thing had
exactly.
never pricked anybody's mind. But we just thank God that we are in such a position, and then we will call for better interpretation. Let's look at the minority. The minority has a very strong concern. What do you make of the minority's concern that this ruling amount to interference of parliamentary by the Supreme Court? This is the concern of the minority.
Yes, that's the concern of the minority. You know, for me, I like to take this whole discussion from a political kind of point of view rather
That's
than a
right.
legal point of view.
Yeah.
Because if you take it from the legal point of view, maybe you might exhaust your arguments, and then you cannot win.
Right.
From a political point of view, I think, at this time, when over the last year and almost a half, we've had a lot of difficulties in our parliament.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of difficulties in getting the two sides to work together.
Together. Right.
And any kind of attempt to give one side an advantage, even if it's legally correct, will
Mhm.
be interpreted by the other side to mean, whoever is making that decision is interfering or is getting involved in the political process.
Mhm.
It is perhaps maybe those who are lawyers who say, I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing wrong with it in law,
Mhm.
but politically, it has created a very messy situation for us,
Yeah.
because already this was quite bad, and we have been trying to find a way to make sure that the two sides come together so that the business of Ghana can be conducted.
Right.
Now, anything that puts one side in a position where it is perceived to be angry
Yeah.
is not too good for us politically at this time. And
Yes.
that is where, you know you can understand the position of, because if you remember a couple of weeks ago, in the heat of
Yeah.
trying to get the numbers to pass, we have called
Right.
in Ghana here the e-levy
Yeah.
bill that was part of the budget that will, if passed into law, tax all the mobile money transactions that was a signal
Yeah.
of the government in the 2022 budget. And that bill, you know, in the process of passing it, there were struggles to get numbers. The majority side has its own issues in terms of getting all their members present. The speaker has been absent because of ill health a number of times, leading to the fact that one of his deputies would have to sit, and then that reduces the numbers and so on. There was an attempt to pursue a legal case against
Okay.
a member of parliament who was alleged to have dual citizenship, Canadian
Yeah.
and Ghanaian. Many people said, yes, really it is nothing to do because the issue has been with the court for some time. But timing of it,
Okay.
many people read that the timing of it was supposed to, I mean, for to reduce the numbers on the other side, so that is how these things are
Yeah.
read in this country at this moment in our history.
Yeah.
If we were in a different moment, maybe this Supreme Court judgment would have come to pass without raising a lot of debate. But the debate is going on. I mean, for
Yeah.
several days now, in this what everybody is talking about.
Yeah. Does it look like Supreme Court judgment was made from the legal point of view, or it was made from the political point of view? Because definitely, the administration must work.
It was
Uh,
well,
I know this one is like pinning you to the wall.
yes, the
No, but
administration must work,
let's just presume
must
something. Uh-huh.
go on,
Yes.
and we've had
Yes.
two. Yes, we've had two previous instances which were even
Yeah.
I mean which had higher stakes than this one. In 2008, the current president went after the elections, and he said the court should
Yeah.
overturn the electoral outcome.
Mm.
After several months, 8 months, the Supreme Court the electoral outcome stands. And 20, the former president, that is the one who won the
Hmm.
court case against the current president, and the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
after a very short period this time around, said, no, we are not going to elect. So you could see a combination of maybe the legal, the mood of the nation.
Yeah.
So if you have a president that has been sworn in already and carrying out the business
Right.
state and so on,
Yeah.
overturning an election and removing him would create a lot of instability in the. So in the two
Right.
instances, the no, the stance,
Okay.
and interestingly, both presidents, the current
Yeah.
one and both of them ruling. So
Yeah.
they said the decision of the was wrong. So you can
Right.
understand which side is coming
Yeah.
now. I mean, it doesn't say for sure. So I'm not going to say the court was legally right or not. But I think we've had precedents
Right.
before. The element here that is
Hmm.
different, and I hope that maybe
Yeah.
in the coming days we are going to hear, even if you disagree with the court, the last arbiter. So what can you do in a
Right.
democratic republic? You have to live with the decision. So I'm hoping that the
Yeah.
minority, despite their disagreement, will say, okay, we accept
Yeah.
the ruling of the court until maybe review is done. There's
Yeah.
another ruling. This is what we have to live with.
Right. Do we? Do we see this, the rulings of the Supreme Court, as an amendment or an interpretation? Is it an amendment or an interpretation? I'm not a law student,
I
but
think it's
yes,
yeah, yes, yes. I think it's an interpretation of the provision in the Constitution, Article 104,
yeah,
because I mean the Constitution to be amended. I think there are certain referendum, and this is just the Constitution where
yeah,
many people had different interpretations because uh, I think the members of parliament were stuck on their standing orders because that's
yeah,
their Bible, and I think at one point they forgot about the Constitution because indeed when the proceedings in Parliament are going on, people don't read the Constitution; they read the standing orders. If you do
yeah,
anything, they will check to see whether it's in conformity with the standing orders.
hmm,
But this is a test case where we've been told that even the standing orders are not adequate. They have provisions that violate the Constitution, and we have to bring the standing orders back in order. So what it means
yeah,
is that maybe the standing orders might have to be amended. I don't know how Parliament is going to deal with this,
right,
but if this case stands, then the orders would have to be amended to take that provision which says that a deputy speaker cannot vote.
yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Political Affairs, and we are streaming and telecasting live from Pennsylvania. Our great gentleman on the show is Dr. Rasheed Dramani, who is the Executive Director of Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Mr. Rashid, Dr. Rashid, sorry. Let's look at this. We hear some MPs have threatened to stop the Deputy Speaker of Parliament from voting or being counted to form a quorum anytime they preside. Do you think this really will help build a consensus in this hanging Parliament that we have now? Because hey, people are the opposition are telling the incumbent that if he dares, they're going to threaten him. What do you say about that?
Um, well,
Yeah, yeah,
I just hope that threat is not carried through,
that's
and
right.
I just hope that maybe the right honourable speaker would be in the seat
Yeah,
at all times, particularly when critical issues like this
mhm,
e-levy are being discussed,
right.
so that we don't see any nasty scenes on the floor of Parliament. I mean, you can't just sweep that threat under the carpet because
Yeah,
we've seen that happen before twice
yeah,
in this eighth
yeah.
Parliament. So it shouldn't be taken lightly. So whatever can be done, particularly by the leadership of Parliament, to make sure that this does not become the case, I think I would strongly support that.
Okay. Amendments of the Constitution or their parliamentary order. What goes into it? I mean, what does it take to get it amendment?
Well, I mean, the Constitution, there are certain provisions in the Constitution
Right.
that require just maybe a vote in Parliament.
Okay.
But there are some provisions that they call the entrenched clauses,
Okay.
and there are a number of them in the Constitution, and those ones would have to be subjected to a referendum so that Ghanaians will say yes, we support, or no, we don't support. And during the time of, our late president, Professor John Evans Atta
Better
Mills,
meals. Yes.
he set up a constitutional review commission
Okay.
that did a lot of work. In fact, the commission went around even the world to talk to our compatriots, like people like you out
Mhm.
there in the different parts of the world, to collect their views in
Right.
terms of certain provisions of the Constitution that were candidates for review.
Yeah.
Uh, all the work was done, and then, as you know, before he could implement that, he passed away, and
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, and I think ever since the process has stalled.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going to happen in this current government.
Yeah.
I have heard a couple of times from Parliament,
Hmm.
the leaders say we support, an overhaul of the constitution,
Right.
and I think even more so now with all these things that are happening. But I think some are saying from the executive
Right.
there isn't a lot of support for a
Hmm.
whole kind of wholesale constitutional
Yeah.
revision. Maybe some say the executive, the president favors just maybe cherry picking certain
Yeah.
aspects of the constitution and revising them.
Yeah. I just want to say that I'm really touched about how you are cool and how you are answering the questions, and I don't even smell any iota of politics in it. And so I want to say that I like you. I like the way you present your issues,
Thank you.
and we invite people on this program, and then they are political, etc., etc. I mean,
Mm.
bringing them to the center, they want to stick to, But I'm really impressed. Let me ask the last question. Going forward, should the Supreme Court tread cautiously in handling issues of Parliament? They have their rights though, but because Ghana is so polarized and Ghana it's we are very emotional in everything. So every branch of government got to be, though the law is there, but they got to tread cautiously. I don't know. What do you think about
Yes, indeed. I think I totally agree with you. And actually, on this specific matter,
it? Yeah,
I was thinking that what we were going to hear from the Supreme Court, particularly, I mean, judging the rule of the mood of the nation,
yeah,
because the lawyers say that there is something that is called jurisprudence. Uh,
right,
that is not only just looking at the law,
hmm,
but just some common sense
right,
application to the law, and that comes into play usually when maybe in circumstances like this, when the country is very polarized, the
right,
country is very divided, Parliament is divided right in the middle, and the Supreme Court judges, they've been in this country. They know that in the last year or so, we've had very difficult moments in Parliament where very
right,
simple things have failed to pass, and so on and so forth. And everybody who is patriotic, who
yeah,
means good and well for this country, has been calling for some consensus, some working together. Just like where you are in the United
yeah,
States, we follow the
right,
politics in the United States.
yeah,
Most recently, when President Biden had some of the senators from his party disagreeing with him, I mean,
right.
he tried to reach out to some of them and say, look, let's sit
Ex-
down and
Exactly.
see what is
Let's
it that I
dialogue.
can do. Let's
Right.
dialogue.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I mean, the political sides have to dialogue, or even one side
Yeah.
has to have some intra-party dialogue in order to resolve issues and move the business of the country ahead. So, for some of us who are into uh, parliamentary strengthening
Right.
and supporting Parliament to work,
Yeah.
I think we were thinking the court would say yes, the law is there. I mean,
Yeah.
but at this moment in our history,
Yeah.
what we need is some unity.
Right.
So go back and take a second look at your standing orders, revise the standing orders so that
Yeah.
maybe these issues can be reflected out clearly.
Right.
Because around the world,
Yeah.
because we have these principles of separation of powers,
Right.
every government stands on three legs: legislature, the judiciary, and the executive.
Yeah.
They coexist, they interdepend.
Hmm.
But most of the time, I think people don't advocate for one branch of the government trying to get involved in how the other branch of the government functions.
Yeah.
Particularly in this case, it is not because Parliament has passed some law
Yeah.
that the Supreme Court is interpreting to say maybe that law has violated, I mean, some aspects of our Constitution. It is more about the internal workings
Yeah.
of Parliament. And, in most places, the courts will be very cautious. They don't want to get involved in this. They would rather Parliament goes to take a look at its own internal rules, and B, the what we've called, I mean, all this while the master of its own
yeah,
internal workings and internal rules.
yeah,
So yes, I would say I think going forward, yes, the Supreme Court must not do anything that is illegal,
mhm,
must not support illegality.
yeah,
But in this case, I think because it has to do with another branch of government, and it also has to do with a time in our history that
right,
is a very difficult one. I would have thought that maybe this would have been taken into account in
right.
arriving at whatever decisions that the Supreme Court arrived at.
Thank you so much. We're still talking about parliamentary issues. Did you watch the 6 month celebration in Cape Coast?
Uh,
I know this is
Not,
out of the blue, but
yeah, not really. I didn't watch. I just saw bits and pieces.
yeah, did you hear the PM of this woman who gave this wonderful speech on Independence Day from Barbados? Did you hear her speech?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear a
Oh,
speech.
it's such a very wonderful speech that I will urge every Ghanaian who is patriotic
Okay,
should listen to it. I mean,
okay.
she spoke well. She spoke highly of how they lift our parliament in a very high regard, and I believe that I'm trusting that our parliamentators should be listening to such speech. If
Hmm,
such a personality from thousands of miles away from Africa uplift us,
hmm.
it means we need to do more work to ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you so much. Dr. Dramani Rashidi, Rashid, sorry. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us concerning what is known as the saga in Ghana. You've just made it so cool and so soft. And look, I will say that there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of. It looks like the E level will be passed. The way I'm seeing things, and when it gets passed, what is your prediction? Is the whole country going to be haywire or what? Because already
Well,
the incumbents will have the numbers, right?
well, I don't know. I don't know about
Mm,
that. I mean, at this point, I mean, it hasn't been passed up to this point because
right.
the numbers are difficult,
Yeah.
particularly if you like, from the majority side, and then also coupled with the absence of the right honorable speaker. So
Right.
maybe if the right honorable, because if the right honorable speaker is in his seat,
Yeah.
and then all members, that's the condition, all members from both sides are present,
Yeah.
then the e-levy will pass because the majority side would have 138 and
Yeah.
the minority side would have 137, and it's simple majority.
Yeah.
So, but if the right honorable speaker is present, and I know that the NDC side, they've always been present,
Yeah.
all the 137. The problem that we have is the absence of
Of the speaker.
one MP, Honorable Ajwa Safo, who
Yeah.
has been in the United States for some time now.
Yeah.
So she's not present at the moment in the House. And then also, another MP from the majority side is currently not well.
Yeah.
So that means that even if the right honorable speaker is sitting in his chair,
Yeah.
the majority side would have 135
Mm,
and the minority will have 137. If a vote is called, the e-levy will be defeated.
mm.
So if a vote is called and all the members are present, then the e-levy will pass. So we'll wait to see how this plays out.
I just thank God so much that as a Ghanaian, or we are in another chapter of our democratic process. And then it also bound down to all our MPs that they should go back to their constituencies and work hard so that they can retain their seat, or else we'll find the same saga in the same 4 years, and it's going to drag this
Hmm.
administration from doing anything for this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that thank you so much for spending some time with us. And I also want to say a very big thank you to Dr. Rashid Ramani, who has spent most of his time with us. I know he's a very important person. He's on the cliffs from here. He has to attend another interview. But Mr. Rashid, Dr. Rashid, God bless you. And inshallah, hopefully, if I should call upon you again for such a, should I use the word confusion in our parliament, you'll come in and then explain things to us into. Some of us who are in the diaspora are yearning to come back home, and we want to make sure that the ground is plain before we come. Ladies and gentlemen, this is today's program. This is Political Affairs, telecasting and streaming live from Pennsylvania, United States of America. My name is Martin Petigo, and we are blessed to have our big brother, Dr. Rasheed Rahmani. I believe this show was so educative, and I'll edge on that. If you haven't signed in or subscribed to Mozartus Media, please do so. We want you to be part of this family. If there's anything going on in Ghana, you want some clarity in our government, our governance, just tune into this program. And I want to promise you, you'll be well informed. Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And God
Have a
bless you.
good afternoon. Okay.
Doctor, I will call you and I will talk behind the
Okay.
curtain.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Okay. Okay. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah. That was Dr. Rashid Dramani, Executive Director of Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. And today's program is called Political Affairs, coming straight from Pennsylvania, PA. Stay tuned next week, Sunday, 3 p.m. US time, Eastern time, and then 7 p.m. GMT for Political Affairs.